Hey everybody, it's episode 137 of Making It. I'm Bob Clagett, here with David Picciuto.
Good morning, Bob Clagett.
Good morning, David Picciuto. You sound like you didn't just wake up, whereas I sound like I just woke up.
You had a long night, from what I understand.
I had a long weekend, yes. But we're also here with Jimmy Diresta.
You guys just woke me up by doing the intro.
Sorry for that.
I'm awake now.
Yeah.
No, it's 6:30 here in California. I've been up since 5:30, in fact.
Good grief.
I just got out of the shower. I figured I'd do all the hard stuff before the podcast because I'm getting picked up immediately after we're done.
Did you work out this morning? Still doing that?
No, I am, but I missed the last 2 days because scheduling. Like we've been working really late, and I'm like completely exhausted. I've been going to sleep at 9. Yesterday was a fun hangout day. I got to hang out with Nick all day. Nick Offerman. He took me around and showed me his wood shop and stuff. I'll talk more about that as we get into it. But so we ended up getting back here at like 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night, and I was just exhausted knowing I had to get up this early. So missed the gym again tonight. Definitely. I promise everybody I'll be at the gym tonight.
I'm going to text you later.
Thank you. Please do, because I'll be like, I'm selling a trailer.
Nice. Well, what's been going on other than you working a lot? Still in California?
Me?
Yeah.
I'm still in California. We finish here Wednesday, so by the time this podcast airs, I will be 2 days into my drive back home.
Oh,
Taylor's here with our car, so we're going to drive back to New York. We might make a little meandering, zigzaggy trip across the United States. We'll see. If
Kentucky's on the way, you know. I mean, you want to stop in, man.
Those Ohio.
We might. There's a couple of YouTubers we might stop and say hello to along the ride. So yeah, we'll see how that goes.
I'm a YouTuber, just in case you didn't know.
What qualifies you as a YouTuber?
Send me a channel. I'll review it.
Okay.
How many subs do you have? Bob's got all the subs. Yeah, and but as far as the project here is going well, it's going well. Thankfully, I'm not the editor because there's 20 cameras shooting in every direction all day long. And I just, from my point of view, I just can't see how they're going to make a story or what they're going to do with it. But it's not my part of the job. I'm just here to be the shop teacher, make sure nobody cuts their hands off, and make sure there's a couple of things being built. So it's sort of my job to make sure that if they're going to build something that needs to be tried out by somebody else, I want to make sure no one's going to fall through or step on something that's going to break their ankle. So I'm also kind of like the seat of the pants engineer here too, because a lot of these people don't have experience with engineering. So when I see somebody building something, I'm like, maybe you should do it this way.
Yeah.
So nobody gets a screw through the bottom of their foot or something like that.
Have there been any major incidents of that where you've had to like stop something from being dangerous? Good.
Are they receptive to that?
No, but I could see it because it's like a real. Yeah, absolutely. It's a slow train, so it's I could just say, hey, you know what? Let me see what your plan is, and then I discuss the plan with them, and I'm like, probably better off if you do this, and they go, okay, cool, because they don't know any better. And I learned from working. It's like when you work on a big giant TV set, like I'm working on. When you work with so many people, it's a little frustrating because there's no ownership in anything. Like nobody takes responsibility for anything. It's like. My broom keeps going missing and I keep losing my temper. Like I turn around and like my broom just goes for a walk because someone comes up to the set and goes, oh, there's a broom. I need a broom over there. And they take it and it just disappears and it's gone. So I'm like the curmudgeon from New York that keeps complaining every 5 minutes.
Where's my broom?
Exactly. It's exactly what it's like. I'm at a point now I got to keep my mouth shut. I'm like, everyone thinks I'm like whatever, an actor or whatever on the show. But this shop is my responsibility, so I'm having a little bit of a frustrating week because every time I turn around, and now there's only 3 episodes left, so it's like I don't need to sweep up for the next 3 days. I don't care. It's not my responsibility. So I mean, it's a frustrating experience in the way that there's a whole entire shop full of tools, and every time I come back, they're like rearranged and put away in a different spot, or somebody comes on and goes, oh, you know what? I need to put a screw in somewhere, and they'll take a screw gun and they'll use it and just leave it right where they used it. And that could be 100 yards away from where I am. And then when the show begins and we need a screw gun, I have to turn to somebody with a little microphone on their collar and go, there was a screw gun here yesterday and now it's gone. And then it's like 25 microphone. Jimmy needs a screw gun. Jimmy, how many screw guns do you need? I go, I just need the one that used to be here. What did it look like? I go, it looks like every other thing in here because everything's sponsored by one color. Okay, Jimmy said there was a screw gun on the set. So that's what it's like every day. It's like totally frustrating, but it's rewarding to work with the crew that I'm working with, and it's a fun project. So we'll see where it goes. But if there's a lot of new. We've been discussing like if there's a next version of this, how it's going to be a locked shop and all that kind of fun stuff. Because the shop doubles as a storage room. So at the end of every day, everything gets packed inside of it. And every morning, like right now at 6:30 in the morning, there's 10 people emptying the shop out from everything that's piled in it. So by the time I get to the set, my little TV workshop is all cleared out and rearranged from, it's been whatever, 30 days, 25 days. Every single day, everything's in a different spot. Every one of the 25 days, everything's in a different place. Ugh. So I come in for like a half hour and try and figure out where everything has got put away. So
crazy.
It's fun.
So do you have any idea yet when you can like publicly talk about what the show is or anything? They giving you any indication?
I asked, and they said that they're going to do an announcement soon about it. And as soon as they do, then I could obviously talk about it. I can't show too much of the footage I've been shooting. I'm just like having fun with the cameraman, and that kind of stuff. But I can't really show any of the behind the scenes stuff I've been shooting, obviously, because I'll get in trouble. But soon enough, everyone's going to hear about it, and everyone's been guessing the right guess. So
cool.
That's all I say, and I can't say no more.
Yeah. Right on. Well, David, what have you been up to?
Pretty boring stuff over here. I'm going to take
cool.
a couple...
All right. Well, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Oh, it's true. I'm not filming a whole lot over the next couple weeks because the focus is on getting the other house up on the market. So we started moving the shop, and I'm going to continue doing so, and I just got a lot of housework, and so I'm on a 2-week shutdown.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Can I make a suggestion?
Please.
Dave, would it be interesting for your second channel to shoot like a little documentary style of you going through the motions of trying to figure out how to get rid of the house or how to sell it or talking to agents? Or because when I went through it, buying my house, the only house I ever bought and the only house I ever want to buy because it was such a frustrating experience, the ins and outs. I realized aside from being able to have good credit, buying a house is just simply managing phone calls. Because that's all I spent the entire summer managing phone calls. It's like, oh, I need this document. And then I call my accountant. I'm like, could you send this document to the bank? And then the bank calls me. It's like, not this document, the other document. And then 5 days later, I call my accountant and go, could you send this other document to the bank? Okay. And like, that's what it's like buying a house. It's like 600 phone calls in a row. And then, of course, you just need to have the credit. Then one day you show up, sign some bunch of papers, and then when you're at the thing, you sign like 600 more papers than you expected to sign, and then your mortgage is always like $500 more than you expected it to be, and insurance is always $1,000 more than you expected it to be. But you're sitting right there in front of the lawyers, and you go, "All right, okay, all right, I guess, okay, all right, I guess I got another job. Okay, cool, all right," and then you leave and you own a house.
Well, my first answer to that would normally be no, and I'm going to stop myself from saying no, and I'll say that's a good idea. We have the realtors coming back on Wednesday, so I'm trying to do a bunch of stuff today and tomorrow, and she's going to do a walkthrough, and we did this months ago, but we're at a point where the house, even if we make less money on the house, we need to get it out of our lives. There's just too much stuff to do. So we're going to have the realtor do the walkthrough again and just tell us the absolute things that we have to fix, maybe things that wouldn't pass an inspection or whatever. And maybe I can vlog about that on the second channel.
Yeah, it might be interesting because a lot of people have never sold a house or never bought a house. I mean, they're two pretty different processes. So yeah, that might be useful.
Yeah.
I know, like, our house in Savannah is still sitting there. Like, we got it on the market. We did all this work to it, getting it cleaned up. I had a friend do some of the floors after we left. And we put it on the market, and we had some interest in it, and then found out that there was a leak in the pool. Wah, wah. And so I've been trying at a distance to get somebody to fix the pool leak, and I can't get anybody to call me back because the hurricanes came through. And it didn't cause a lot of trouble where we were or anything, but it just kind of set everything off. Like everybody who was looking for a house is now like not, it's not a priority. And power was out for a week or so and just set everything behind. So that's kind of a drag. So I kind of feel your pain. Like you need to get rid of it. It's just kind of there, like dead weight, dead money being spent.
It's just something that I can't stop thinking about. And if I can get rid of it, I can worry about the things I'm supposed to worry about. So we started moving the shop, and a few days ago, I gave a little. I made a video of a tour of the new place and what I plan on doing with that. I thought the contractor was coming over today. They actually start next Monday, and it's a 4-week process. So I'm hoping by the first week of November, I'm filming in there, and during my 2-week shutdown, as I'm calling it, I'm still going to film. I'm just not going to put a lot of pressure on me filming. It's just going to be like, okay, I have a little bit of time. Now there's a couple jigs that I want to make, and then there's some shop furniture that I can make in the meantime while the new shop is being worked on.
Stuff that will transfer over to the new shop?
Yep.
Not just like temporary things?
Yeah. No, for temporary things, I have like flimsy plastic sawhorses with a plywood on it, and I got the miter saw on there, and I would say it's 90% safe. I mean, it's and I have things on wheels, and so I can still work. I should still be able to do things. It just won't be as convenient as having things in their stationary position.
Yeah. Cool. Speaking of that, like last week I had, I think I said it on here, Josh Price from the PI Workshop was in town, and him and his family spent the week here, and actually they're still in town, but he was in the shop with me and just like wanted to help. So he was like, what can I help you do to get the shop in shape? And we built like a lumber rack one day. He built a wraparound, like a cover for our furnace. There's one that doesn't have a vent on it, so it's like easy to cover up and it's not a big deal. And so he did that, and it's all covered in whiteboard. It was super helpful because it was one of those things I probably wouldn't get around to for a really long time. And then the last couple of days of him being here, we started talking about how, like, I'd never quite finished laying out the shop. It was like, well, this works here. I'll just put it there for now and everything. And so we started talking about shop layout. And it was pretty cool because I found that Josh and I think a lot the same way about, we think through processes pretty far. And, if you put this here, then that's going to cause this, and that's going to cause this, and that's going to cause this. So you get the chain of effect there. And so we ended up having like a whole morning of like, well, if we put this tool over here, how do we have to run the dust collection, or what's the most efficient way to put a single dust collection trunk to run multiple tools and all this stuff. So we made some really good progress, and then all of a sudden started moving everything. So now, and this was right before I left for New York. So now everything in the shop, every single thing is in a different place than it was last week. So we just started, which is cool. I mean, like I walked in there this morning after getting back from New York, and I was like, whoa, I kind of forgot that this is entirely different. But it makes so much more sense now because we thought through placement of everything. So I'm really excited to like finish getting it set and start to run dust collection and, like really settle into it. But it was really cool. It was super helpful to have him in the shop helping out, which was really cool. And just good to hang out. He's a good guy. But I got back last night at like 1 a.m. from New York. Went to Maker Faire this weekend. And nice. It was so cool. I hadn't been in New York City in a while. I can't even remember the last time. It was before I started having kids, so it would have been like almost 10 years ago, I guess. And
you haven't been in New York since then? I feel like you come here all the time.
No, maybe I have. Maybe I've been there one time since then, but not much. I mean,
no, I mean like I haven't met you in New York since we've been friends.
Maybe, yeah. I feel like I was there one time while you weren't, like you were out of town or something. I don't know. But anyway, I haven't spent much time in the city in a really long time. And it was really cool, and also like really reaffirmed the fact that I could never live in a city like that. I don't know how you guys do it. I know everybody gets used to, new noises and new smells and new all the stuff. And people grow up there and that's all they ever know and stuff. But man, what a difference of.
Well, I'll tell you, the Maker Faire takes place in like the worst part of Queens. There's no way to get there simply. Like my friend wanted to come and stay at my apartment. I was like, honestly, I go, you're better off renting an apartment near there or getting an Airbnb, because to get from my apartment to the Maker Faire, it's an hour and 20-minute scooter ride on a Vespa. It's like an hour and a half in the car because when she gets there, there's nowhere to park. It's like an hour and a half on the train because you got to make 17 connections. It's only about 15 miles from where my house is, my apartment. But to getting there, it is like the most zigzaggy back and forth unpractical way to get there. There's just the only way to get there practically is to sleep there or take a helicopter there, because it's like the most inconvenient place in all of New York to get to.
Have you ever taken a helicopter there? Because that'd be awesome.
No, I'm just saying the only way to get there, like conveniently, is like as the crow flies, just like wherever you are, go straight there. Because
yeah.
So,
we had pretty good luck. We had pretty good luck, like taking cars, just because of the time of day and the fact that it was on a weekend and stuff. That helped a little bit to get lifts there back and forth and stuff. We took the subway one time, which smelled exactly like I remembered, so that was cool. And then let's see, we walked a lot. We stayed in Brooklyn, and so with some friends, and we walked from there over the bridge to Manhattan and walked around. Ended up walking like 13 and a half miles one day, which was a lot.
Whoa.
Yeah, but it was fun.
That's a lot.
We were aiming to get to Central Park, and we didn't get anywhere close to it. We just got distracted and started going into stores and found some like festivals in the streets and walked through those. It was really cool. I mean,
were you with your wife?
Yeah. Jenny went with me, and so we took Friday.
Great.
We went in Thursday, went to a Matter Hackers and Ultimaker meetup at a Fab Lab there, which was really cool. Lots of people. We did a talk about like functional 3D printing, about not just the toys and the gadgets and stuff, but like how to use it and how. And it was a really interesting panel of people who use 3D printing in really different ways. And I don't know if there's a video of that or not. I didn't shoot any video the entire weekend, but I was just trying to be there and enjoy it. But anyway, we did that night. Cool talk, good meeting a lot of people, and then. The next day my wife and I just walked around New York. We had no plan. We had no schedule. We just walked, and that was awesome. We had a really good time. And then Friday night went out to dinner and stuff. And then Saturday and Sunday were the fair. Saturday night there was another get together with Inventables and Matter Hackers at a place. I don't even know where it was. I get so turned around there. I don't know where I am. But it was awesome. Hanging out with people at those meetups and at the fair. I met tons of people. I saw lots of people that I'd seen again. Got to meet Raina. Raina came up to me yesterday, her and her dad.
Great. Right on.
Saw her. Saw a lot of people. Saw a lot of Making It shirts. A lot of people asked about you, both of you guys. A lot of people were mad at you, Jimmy. And I wanted to make sure that I rubbed it in. No, I mean, a lot of people were disappointed that you couldn't make it, But... we did a talk on Saturday at the fair with Caleb Kraft moderated. It was me, Becky Stern, John Park, Angus from Maker's Muse, and Joel from 3D Printing Nerd. And we just talked about like YouTube stuff, and it was 45 minutes. And I think it was like one of the more solid panel talks I've ever been a part of. Like it was, Caleb did a great job of getting right into it, keeping it moving. Everybody got to talk a little bit and put in some input, and we all came at things from a very different perspective. So I think there was a lot of good information in that talk. It was just really fast because we had 45 minutes and everybody was just kind of like,
I watched some of it on SA Maker's channel yesterday. I didn't get to finish it, but it looked good. It looked like it was fun.
Yeah, it was. It was cool. And, I got to spend a little more time with like John Park. And if anybody doesn't know him, he works for Adafruit and does like super cool stuff, and he's a really nice guy too. But yeah, we get to hang out. Finally got to meet Becky Stern, who's like just really good at what she does. She makes like a lot of wearable stuff and electronics, and she's just really
she's been at it for a really long time.
Yeah. She used to be.
She's been in the YouTube game from a really long time ago, she's got a lot of history.
Yeah, she's worked at Make and Adafruit, and now she's at Instructables. and she just makes content for all of those people, like makes projects and puts them out under those channel names, and pretty cool. I had a really, really good time. Met a lot of patrons for my stuff and for this show, and just had some really amazing conversations with people who were like, you guys don't know the kind of difference that you're making, with people, just like with a podcast.
That's sweet.
And it was pretty humbling to hear. Excuse me, I'm not crying. I have stuff in my throat. It was really humbling to hear.
I'm crying.
Just to hear like the effect that something as silly and normal as a podcast can have on people. Like I met a guy right before we went into the talk, and he was really excited and came up and was talking to me and a bunch of other people and was like, I never had tools. I bought tools because of you. And I was like, right on, man. That's like the coolest thing that it's not like something he was dabbling in. He had never done any making, and then bought tools because of the videos and because of the podcast. And, it was like a thing that he did now. And his wife was there, and she was like, yeah, he just started building stuff, and now he builds furniture, and now he does this and does that. And it was really cool.
I will say sometimes
That's cool.
we record an episode and it energizes me to go work on stuff. So
Yeah, totally.
It
I mean,
helps me
a
as
couple
well.
weeks ago, I guess last week or something, we were talking about the cart. Remember, we had the little conversation about the cart. And as soon as we finished that episode, I was like super motivated to do that, whereas I wasn't before. And I went in and just like knocked it out. And everybody's been messing with me with the Adam Savage comments since.
Nice. You got to be careful with what you say, because people will take that too far.
Yeah. Everybody's been really funny about it. But it was a great weekend. The fair itself was really cool. It's considerably smaller than the Bay Area one, which I'd never been to the New York one before. But still lots of cool stuff there. Got to see some R2-D2s. Big fire-breathing dragon. That was cool. Some good talks. So it was a good time. Yeah. What are we going to talk about today?
Today we're going to pull in a couple of questions from Reddit. And the first question comes from J Makes on YouTube. That's his username. What are 3 successes you like about your videos and 3 failures you dislike about your videos? I don't know how to define success, I guess, but I've changed my style in my videos quite a few times. And even though I would consider that when I used to do the weekly wrap-up a success, it kind of set the path for me to do other things. I read the question and didn't give it much thought. So interrupt me and save me here.
What about you, Jimmy? You have successes or failures in your project? I think you have a lot of successes. I would love to hear about some of your failures in projects, things that you think didn't work.
It's funny. Right now, I'm started working on a project while I'm here on the show, and I started doing this bandsaw box. Remember you guys, we talked about it a couple of weeks ago? And I started working on the bandsaw box, and I try and think of these smaller, simpler projects that I'm doing that wouldn't ordinarily take me a long time. I try and relate them to when I used to do a lot of the make videos. I would do the make videos. A lot of them were only done in just a few hours, and they were very successful, a lot of them. And so this time around, I'm trying to do this. And again, with the frustrations that I talked about already with the shop, like I turn around and things are put away, and I turn around and somebody just cut 32 by 4s on my only bandsaw blade that's sharp, and stuff like that. And I am having a little bit of a frustrating time. And so the bandsaw box did not come out great. I mean, it'll look cool. There's a lot of techniques in there that are usable, but it's not something I'd be extremely proud of. It's just like, it's done. And it's like, okay, there's a box with a bandsaw hole cut in it. And as you know, when you do a bandsaw box that's inside a bandsaw box, and the holes you're making just keep getting more and more like squirrely. And so it's kind of like that. I'm going to finish it. I'm going to try and finish it today, tomorrow, but it's not going to be a great video. And I'm a little nervous that lately my channel is not getting the views. It's not getting the subs because I'm not really putting a lot of content out there. And so by the time I put this up there, it's going to be just another one. Oh, would you run out of ideas? Oh, this is horrible. So I'm a little vulnerable right now as far as my whole channel goes, because I just haven't been hammering the content that I like to. And once I got into my shop in July and August, I put out some good stuff. I was happy about the DeWalt videos that I did and a couple of the videos that I got up and out. But then all of a sudden now, September, I kept telling everybody I'm not going to be able to make a lot of content. But things are dwindling a little bit, and I really have to put a fire under my butt and get back to work in October.
So that's an interesting question. Like you, it sounds like you're feeling the pressure to put some content up, but you're not really happy with the content that you made for whatever reason, whether it's something you can control or not. Like, do you think it's worth putting that there? Or do you think it's worth just holding off until you do something that you're really happy with?
I'm going to put it up just because I can discuss it. I mean, with my Patreon voiceovers, I can discuss what's good or bad about this particular project because it went in a couple directions. It's really simple. It's not complicated at all. But while I was working on it, I realized it didn't fit under the bandsaw guide. And I was like, oh, wow, that was kind of a stupid mistake. I made this whole thing. It didn't fit under the guide. This bandsaw has a 6-inch throat, and I made this exactly 7 inches thinking it would fit. Because I in my mind, I always like invert numbers. So I'm like, oh, 6 is the number, 7 is the number. And then I went up and I'm like, oh, it was 6. Because when I measure it, I'm like, is it 6 or is it 7? Oh, no, it's 6. But then because in my mind I say 7, I obsess on the wrong number. It's like a mental disability I have. I always obsess on the wrong thing because I don't want to make it wrong. And then I always make it wrong. If anybody else has that same problem. And anyway, so that was like a little hiccup. And now there's nowhere in this half-baked shop for me to like cut that much material off. And then if I do, it changes the idea. Anyway, so it's such a simple, stupid thing. It got me frustrated because I'm not in my own shop. I can't just turn around and go, oh, let me just put a new bandsaw blade on. You know what? To change this bandsaw that's in the shop from like a 1/2-inch blade to an 1/8-inch blade, I got to break out wrenches and Allen keys. It's so frustrating. And none of those adjustments adjust simply. They're all like very complicated. So every little thing in the shop is frustrating me. And I'm kind of relating that back to like me being out of my shop and my channels slowing down a little bit and all that stuff. And it's just like, it's kind of like a little bit of a snowball effect. And I just have to take a step back, put up a couple of repeats. And then when I get back to the city, just start working on a couple of the projects I have in my notebook and just get back to it. I want to start my canoe build, and that's going to be, a series. It's not going to be a start to finish, but I definitely want to get that started. At least I could follow up on the vlogs, the progress of that. I want to get back to making my power hammer. A lot of people are asking about that. So I'm just feeling a little frustrated being away for so long. And, now a couple of my bills are coming late because I haven't been home. And so I'm trying to figure, I'm like logging into stuff on the web that I've never logged into before to pay bills, which I've never done because I'm getting the email like, oh, you didn't pay this bill, by the way. I'm like, I know I didn't pay it. I'm here. And so it's like, do you want to pay it online? And so then I got to create a password. So stuff like that. But as far as related to the videos, I just need to get back to I'm in the middle of a couple of what I like to call epic videos, ones that I know will be viral. And I just have to finish them. And Brett keeps reminding me, he's like, that's sitting there. I'm like, I know. And, I'm making another hatchet handle. I started talking about it in the vlog. I'm making a hatchet handle out of steel. And that's something I want to get back to. It's going to be one of the first things I work on when I get back. And there's a couple of other things sitting around. I made this really crazy long table that I want to finish. So as far as failures and successes, I'm just sort of a failure of managing my time, I guess you might say. But there's only so much I can do when I'm literally in another state.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's got to be kind of frustrating to be... It's an extended period of time to be like out of sorts and out of your place, especially after you just moved and, got settled.
It'll be like 5 weeks by the time I get home.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting you said snowball effect. Like it sounds like it's kind of snowballing in the direction that you don't want. But, at the same token, once you get back and start getting back to creating content, it's going to snowball in the other direction, right? As you create more things,
exactly.
You'll see all those numbers start to rise and all that.
Yep.
I mean, for me, as far as like just... It's easy to say successes for different reasons. Like there's a bunch of things that work, but the failures I think are probably a little bit more important. I had one and now I lost it. Oh yeah. So when I look back at some of the videos that I've done that have not felt good about, or I've not felt like they performed well, or people just didn't quite like get into it. The thing that's common between those that I've seen is they're things that I didn't necessarily need or didn't necessarily have a specific use for. Like one time there was an insulation company that said like, hey, can you use our installation in a project, and so we can sponsor it. I'm like, sure, I'll come up with something. Just thinking like, oh, that should be easy enough. And then when it came down to it, I was like, wait, how do I work insulation into a project? And they had some sound insulation, so I said, well, I do audio stuff. I'll make some sort of a audio wraparound for doing voiceover. And technically, it worked. It worked great. It was ugly. It was something that I didn't really need, and I think that just bled into like a lack of interest into it, and that carries over into the viewership. I think when people see, at least me, when they see me doing something that I'm not necessarily into, it's really obvious. I mean, maybe I'm just bad at hiding that type of thing, but and so I think that's happened a couple of times. Sometimes it's like, well, I know I should be making a project out of wood because I've been doing electronics and 3D printing lately, and it's it's about time for me to do a wooden thing. I don't really need any wooden things. What can I come up with? And I'm it's like, I'll just do this thing because it probably makes sense to do it, then I'm not into it. And those usually just don't go well. But I think on the flip side of that, I guess from a success point of view, the projects and videos that I've done that are things that I am super excited about, the things that like really get me internally just like glowing, that comes across and people comment about it all the time. Like the lightsaber, people still today leave comments that say like, it was so awesome to see you light up like when the lightsaber turned on for the first time. Because I turned it on for the first time on camera and it just made me giddy. Like I giggled and just felt like, oh my goodness, I have a lightsaber.
That was fun.
And I think that like connected with people. And so and the arcade too. It was like a long-term goal when I finally had it there in the living room with the lights on the wall and the our artwork on the side and all that stuff. I just felt like, oh man, this is awesome. I think that stuff carries over. And that's not really a success from a like a view perspective. Like that doesn't necessarily get more views. It doesn't teach any more than anything else, but I feel like it got the point across because I was really excited, and I think that carried over. But
yeah, I'm going through my videos here, and I'm kind of seeing the same thing that you're talking about, Bob. The projects that you're just doing to, oh, it's Tuesday, I need to film something. I think people can kind of sniff that out, and I'm looking through some things, and I'm like, oh man, why did I go with that title or that thumbnail? That's kind of clickbaity. And I'm looking at the views. I'm like, those views are lower than the other ones. People know when it's not like a sincere project, or projects that just have a story attached to them seem to do better. Yeah, they have a purpose.
And so, like both of you guys this morning have said, like David, you said you're going to be taking a break, and and then Jimmy, you've been forced to take a break, kind of. I found, and I think I talked about this a few weeks ago, like I was feeling really burnt out and just, I still felt like I needed to get back to creating content after moving, but I was just like tired and still had a ton to do. And I don't know when the point was, but at some point I let myself off the hook a little bit and said like, okay, I got to get this stuff done. And if that means I don't get to create any videos for a little while, or I skip a week once a month for a couple of months, so be it. And I mean, it could be a personality thing, but that just me saying that and deciding like it's going to be okay if I don't hit my self-enforced schedule. And I felt like a huge amount of relief to just not have to feel guilty about not creating something every single week. And so, like you got moving to do, you have housework to do, let yourself off the hook. Yeah. Just get that stuff done and be okay with it. And Jimmy, like you're in a place where you can't necessarily do the stuff that you want to do. It's out of your control for now. So, just enjoy the moment where you are and it'll come back. Like you'll get back to it.
Yeah, I'm kind of hoping that the vlogs will make up. I got some pretty good vlog content this week. I was hanging out with it'll be out by the time we talk, by the time this airs. But I got to hang out with Nick yesterday and meet a couple of his friends, and we kind of had like an art inspiration day. It was actually really fun.
Sweet.
So stuff like that I'll bring to the vlog, and people really, the vlog resonates with a lot of people. So just got to keep it up, and keeps me on pace too.
You said, I'm just going to let myself go. When you have that conversation with yourself internally, there is a little bit of magic that happens. Because I know there are certain types of projects that I do that will get some negative feedback, whether it's an art-based project or some sort of digital tool. And when I go to read the comments, I know there's going to be negative comments. And so one of the tricks I've taught myself is like, hey, before I go read the comments, I don't care what people say. And for whatever reason, when I just say that to myself and then go read the comments, I'm better off. I accept them.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I mean, I hadn't really thought about this before until you just said that, but I've never really thought about my expectation for the comments. Like, what is it I'm trying to personally get from reading comments? If it's like a pat on the back, if I need 1,000 pats on the back and I go there and I get less than that, then I'm going to be like, oh, they didn't like it. But if I go there, I don't know, for a different reason, like, that's an interesting way to look at it, kind of going into it, not with the expectation of people loving me, but just going there to respond to people. I don't know. That's interesting. I'm looking through my list now that you said that too. I'm looking through my list of videos, and I think some of the good ones that seem to perform well, just from like a view perspective, this isn't always the case, but a lot of the ones that have performed well are things that I kind of just built off the top of my head. They're things that like I didn't necessarily need a guitar case, but it was like in the moment I was like, well, I could order one, or I could just make one. That'd be cool. Like, I got a day, I can make a guitar case. And so it wasn't something I thought really hard about and planned out and spent a lot of time. It was just like, oh, this would be a cool thing to have. Let's do it, and just did it. And so I think some of that, that's not across the board for sure, but a lot of the ones that have been kind of spur of the moment seem to have done really well. And maybe that's because I was motivated about them at the time. Like in the moment, it wasn't like, oh, this is a cool idea, I'll write it down and then come back to it in a month. It was just like, it's in my head, let's do it. Maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know.
It's funny. I'm going through my list and I'm looking at, I see ones that did perform really well. And they're more common woodworking projects, like like making a hand plane or making a bed or a bandsaw box. And I think there's a couple reasons for that. I think one, woodworkers want to see typical woodworking projects. But if you are an aspiring YouTuber and you want your videos to get seen, it's okay to make something that somebody else made if you have your own take on it, because when somebody goes to watch a DIY bed video and you made a DIY bed video, your video is going to show up in the recommended videos of those other DIY bed videos. Yeah.
I'm betting on that. This week I'm betting on that because as we were moving things around, the one thing that I didn't have to move things around in the shop I have like my granddad's old miter saw station. Well, it was actually his radio alarm saw station. And it works perfectly fine for my miter saw. But it's big and gigantically heavy and really hard to move. And I was going to move it like from one side of the shop to the other. And I'm like, well, if I'm going to like go through the effort of moving that, I should just build a miter saw station. And if you're not aware, miter saw station videos on YouTube do ridiculously well. People who make plans for them, like Jay Bates, they sell a lot of them because it's something that a lot of people really want to have. And I'm going to do my best not to like rip off anybody else's design. I'm trying to like pull a bunch of ideas together and make something different. But no doubt it will be very similar to a lot of other ones because it's just it's a desk with a miter saw in the middle of it. But I'm kind of betting on the fact that it's something that people look for. And there's a lot of really good videos out there already on that topic. I'm hoping that mine will get tossed into the, recommended with it. I don't know.
It's funny you mentioned that because I just had a conversation with Brad Rodriguez from Fix This Build That last night. And I said, one of the pieces of furniture I need to make for the new shop is a miter station, but I'm not going to film it. And it's going to be the first thing that I'm not going to film in a long time. And basically it's because mine is going to be very specific to the space that it's going in and my needs. And there's already so many other ones. And I want to make it as fast as possible. And so I'm not going to film it.
Interesting.
That's funny.
The table
sure
you're not going to film it? Are you sure?
You should.
I'm 60%.
Put a time lapse up.
Yeah.
Set up a time lapse.
You know what? That might be a good time lapse. style video.
Just this way you could like let go and have fun, and at least it'll look funny.
Put some really funny music behind it. Benny Hill,
Yakety sax.
Yeah.
The table that I'm working on that I haven't finished yet is going to be basically my chop saw station, my miter station. And I was just going to make a table that doubled as that. So I was just going to have like the chop saw would just sit on top of it with just some hold up blocks. So I wasn't going to get too crazy about it. But now that I need more subscribers and more views, and you talked about that, so now I'm going to be some inventive.
Okay,
to it. So thanks, Bob.
We all three,
David. Exactly. We all three are going to make miter stations. David, you have to film it now. You can't not film it. And our videos,
I'm already halfway through the video. I just have to finish the top and the drawers. So that's something I started in August.
Mine will be done before you even get back to New York. So, we'll all three have them. We'll send videos, like references to each other, and it'll be awesome. We'll all be millionaires now.
Let's do it.
Is that how it works?
Apparently, I don't know. I don't know YouTube. But I mean, it is one of those things that I think, I don't know. I mean, I totally get your reason for not wanting to film it. Like sometimes you just got to get stuff done, right, to use. But you may want to film it in some way, just because I know that it's something that people use.
Set up a time lapse on a GoPro. Bob, Dave, do you have a GoPro 4 or 5 with a time lapse?
I do, yes.
Yeah, just set it up. Set up a 2 second per shot. 2 second intervals, and you get like a decent time lapse that you could make faster. Stretch out a little bit. So I always do 2 seconds time lapse. And by the way, can I tell everybody that Dave has cigarettes stuffed in his ears, and I'm trying to figure out why.
Oh my gosh, no, they're not. They're wireless earbuds.
I know, I'm just kidding. But a minute ago, I'm like, does he have cigarette butts stuck and bent down in his ears? That's funny.
I smoked for a long time, and thank goodness
Did you keep them anymore. Did you keep them in your ears?
I was never the person to keep them in my ears. No.
Okay.
It looks like you took like 2 Parliament cigarettes and stuck them in your ears and then bent them down.
Bend them down, yeah.
Yeah. Next thing I'll have the pack rolled up in my sleeve like Schneider.
Nice. Yeah.
That's funny, Schneider. Everybody, you'll win.
Awesome.
You'll win first prize if anybody could say who Schneider is.
Yep.
That's under 25.
Yeah. 35 maybe. Yeah. Name the show. I was going to say something
funny,
to that. What was that?
I was going to say that I'm in LA, and Taylor and I noticed the other day, I haven't seen one person smoke a cigarette the entire time I've been out here.
Oh, man. I noticed in New York, I was like, why is everybody still smoking here? It's like so much.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I stopped smoking about 28 years ago, so I'm proud to say I haven't smoked in so long. And nobody should ever smoke. It's like the most horrible thing. Yeah. Once in a while, I hold a Sharpie in my mouth in a video, and everyone's like, you smoke? I didn't know you smoked. It's a Sharpie.
Smoking Sharpies is even worse for you, probably, than cigarettes. But
and I'm up to about 2 a week.
Nice. So, David, was there another question that kind of went along with that one? Did you say that?
Yes.
Or did I imagine that?
Let's see. The same person, Jay Makes on YouTube, asks, I would love for a show focused on how you record your projects. And he goes on to say, ask, why do you explain some things and not other things? What's the process? What's the balance that you choose for your videos?
That's a big question.
I can offer just a little advice. It just happens to be top of my mind because I just had this conversation with a fan the other day. I think it's real important. A lot of people don't realize, and I've said it here and I'll say it before. People think we have cameras running all day long. They think we shoot like 65 hours of video. I only ever shoot when transformation takes place. If one piece of wood becomes 2 pieces of wood, if 2 pieces of wood get connected, if a piece of material gets cut in half. I only shoot any kind of transformation. If I'm going to have to show something boring for a really long time, like sanding, I shoot it for 3 minutes because I'm only going to show it for 5 seconds. So stuff like that. And if I am going to show it for 5 seconds and it's really big, I want to show myself on this side of it, that side of it, that side of it, that side of it, so that people will get the quick understanding he sanded the whole thing. So, I mean, that's some really quick tips if people want to know. I don't keep a GoPro going the entire time. And if I do something really boring, I move the tripod 3 times while I'm shooting it. And so it looks like I'm doing a 3-camera shoot, but it's just the same piece of footage in 3 different spots. And something that's really important, and you guys could attest to this, is managing your files. So when you shoot from three cameras, and sometimes the time codes aren't the same. You don't even know, like how many times have you edited a video and you're like, this looks great. And you're like, I completely forgot to put the footage from above. I completely forgot because it wasn't in the timeline in the same sequential order because that GoPro, the time isn't set because it doesn't go online ever. And the time is set to 1962. So it's always like at the top of the pile of footage.
I'll be editing and I'm like, the GoPro is still in the Glowforge. I have to go back and go get the GoPro.
Right. Yeah. That is one downfall to try and do a multi-camera shoot. You really got to make sure your time code. You just got to make sure the time of day is set correctly on each one of the cameras, so that when you bring your files in, they land in sequential order. Because if you have 2 GoPros and a digital SLR, you want to make sure those files all land in some sort of sequential order. Otherwise, you forget you had them.
Yeah.
That's why I try to avoid using more than a couple of cameras in any shoot. Go ahead.
When you do have your time set on the cameras, make sure that all the different cameras are set to daylight savings time or non-daylight savings time.
Right. Because one's always an hour off from the other. Exactly.
I've done that
absolutely.
Times. Yeah.
Or the same date.
Yeah. So you were talking about like having cameras running all the time and like shooting every single little thing. When I first started making videos, I would, with the intention of like, I'm going to show everybody the whole process. Like that's one of the kind of core things of what I do. And for a long time, without really thinking about it, I would show every table saw cut. And if you're making a cabinet, that's a lot of table saw cuts. And really, you don't need to show that because people, if they see one cut, they understand how to cut a piece of wood on a table saw, unless you're doing something unique, right? But if you're just cutting down a 4x8 panel into 20 pieces, you don't really need to show that. So that's one thing that I just kind of realized a while back, that there's a lot of the stuff that I'm including that really there's no reason to show, because if I show it once, I can say, and then I cut all these pieces to size.
Right.
Because with what I do, I don't tell people generally, I don't tell people the sizes that I'm cutting to because it's not always relevant. And so it's not like I'm saying, and then I cut a piece to this size, and then I cut a piece to this size. You know, there's no like lineup between the audio and the information I need to say and a visual of it being cut. And so in the last maybe year or so, I've removed a whole lot of that material breakdown unless there's something specific. If I have to cut a certain type of angle or a certain, you know, using a certain type of saw, because it's like it's easier to use a circular saw to break down the sheet rather than the table saw, I'll do that and say like this is why. But that's like one thing I think people will often just set up a time lapse especially when they're first getting started. They'll set up a time lapse and then they'll show every single cut and every single bit of sanding, even if it's like 1,000% speed. They're still showing all of those pieces, when I think there's a lot of things that can be left out and still understood. You know, I mean, you got to assume that your audience has a certain level of understanding that like wood is cut with saws. You know, okay, cool. We established that. Now we don't have to show them all.
A funny piece of input. I said this to somebody as an example once a long time ago. When you're making something and you want to show people what you're making, imagine there's a little kid sitting on your lap, staring between your hands and looking exactly what you're doing. Like, you're teaching your son or your daughter or your nephew what you're doing with your hands, and they're sitting on your lap. You want the audience to be that kid sitting on your lap. So when you're shooting something, have the camera cropped into the project. I don't care what's on your table. I don't care that, unless the dog is part of it, I don't care that there's a dog all the way off in the corner. And you could crop, now there's enough digital information in the picture where you could look at the picture you shot, and if it does have all this extraneous information in the outsides of your image, you could zoom in and you'll still have a pretty tight image. I mean, do you guys remember when Final Cut first came out? You would zoom into an image, all of a sudden it would look like it was like a 340 digital picture. It was really horrible. But now you can really crop in really deep into a picture and still have a good resolution. So use the cropping tool. If you don't shoot it in a good crop, you could always crop in and get out all that extraneous information, like everything in the shop that we don't need to see.
Yeah, like
so if you're looking at the picture, you want like a good 40 or 50% of it to be the information and not just like 5% of it.
Right. And a good way to do that for anybody that isn't maybe not familiar, if you shoot in 4K, that's 4 times the resolution of normal HD. So you have 4 screens, which means you can zoom in 400% and still have a crisp, unpixelated image. And then you can even go past that, and the pixelation is going to be so minimal that you're not going to notice it. But that's what Jimmy's talking about. So, you can shoot in 4K even if you don't necessarily upload in 4K. But yeah, I was telling somebody, I guess it was on the panel at Maker Faire, we were talking about getting to the thing that you want people to see. Maybe it was on the panel. I don't know. At some point this weekend, I said, I think it's really important, too, to make sure that people are aware of where they are. Like, it's when we're moving through our shops and we're working on this side of this giant piece of furniture, and then we have to zoom in very quickly to show, like, this is how you do this one hinge or whatever, like a close-up detail thing. We understand that because we're there and we have the context of the room. But if somebody's watching the video, they don't necessarily have the context of where you are in relation to the thing that you're showing them. So a lot of times
that's real important.
It's as simple as like a wide shot of the piece of furniture with you on the left side, just to show that you're there, and then you zoom into the detail.
Context is important.
Yeah, and a simple context shot like that can make it really much easier for somebody to follow what's happening rather than just like bouncing around from close up to close up and not really knowing where they are.
Another real important thing, and we all do it, is context of the project. Let's say you're making 4 legs to a table and you really cropped in, and now you want to show, you've already accomplished 2 of those legs. So when you're working on the third one, you want to show 2 of them, at least in the image somewhere, so that we know where we are in the story. I mean, between me and Brett, we're always reminding each other, let's just show context of where we are in the story. And it's real important, I think, because it helps you. It also helps you with your edit, because when you're looking at your footage, you're like, okay, that goes over here, if things are out of order in your timeline. So always be conscious of what you can show. Even when they say a picture says 1,000 words, that's what they mean.
Yeah.
You could see where you are in your story by just simply looking.
Yeah.
We do a couple tricks to keep things moving along. I set limitations for myself where I try not to do any time lapse, and so it kind of forces me to be a little bit more creative during the shooting process and then the editing process, because I want my videos to be as short as possible. So if there's like 10 cuts to do on a table saw, there's a couple things that I'll do. One is I'll only show 2 of them. I'll show the wide shot, kind of like the establishing shot you were talking about, Bob, and then one up close. And then in the next scene, I can show the pile of boards at my bench, and that tells the story. I cut 10 of them. I don't have to show all 10. Another thing I've been doing lately is, since I talk to the camera while doing the things, something that helps speed up my videos is I'll cut all the boards to width and length and just do a quick like one of each. And then when I'm at the bench, I'll show the boards and I'm like, so I already cross-cut and ripped these boards to length, and then overlay that footage over top of me talking. And now I'm going to do this thing. And it really just speeds the video along, because I assume that most of my viewers are woodworkers, and they already know what a cross-cut looks like. And then one final thing that I'll do, not final thing, but final thing that I'll mention to speed up the videos is I will shoot tip videos on like how to make splines for picture frames, or I'll have like how to make a picture frame videos. And so when it comes time in a project where I'm cutting splines, I'll just reference the video. Like, I'm going to cut the splines now. I'm not going to go into detail, but I have a whole video that does go into detail. And so then my videos are cross-referencing each other, and it keeps the project video shorter and condensed.
That's a good idea. I should do more like that.
Yeah.
I never do that because I'm too lazy to like remember. Every time I start a new video, it's just like, okay, this is the first YouTube video I'm making.
Well, I was Evan and Caitlin. They're one of my Patreon subscribers, and we do a monthly talk. And one of the things that helps you grow on YouTube is have as much content as you can possibly make, quality content. And so I'll tell them, like, you can shoot your normal project, but there's probably tip videos within that project. So that one project can actually be 2 or 3 videos. And so, if you're getting into YouTube, that's one way of having multiple videos from a single project.
That's interesting. I said that exact same thing this weekend to a couple of people. Yeah. Because I talked to some people who were like, do really amazing work. And they were like, I just don't know how to turn this into a video. Like, it's just too much for a video. And I said the same thing. We'll make an overview one, and then pull out a couple of specific skills and turn those into separate things. I got to hang out with Evan and Caitlin a lot this weekend in New York.
I saw all the photos.
Oh.
And they're awesome. They
Totally
are just
Where are they from? Are they New Yorkers?
They're from Houston.
Oh, okay.
They are just as fun and real as they seem online. Yeah, they're cool. Jenny and I get to spend a lot of time with them. You guys got anything else on this topic? This is one we could probably talk more about in the future.
I love talking about my video process.
Yeah.
One thing. Another quick thing is look at YouTubers you enjoy and emulate what they do, and look at successful YouTubers and say, why are they successful? And then look at your video, and if your video includes 3 minutes of sanding, and then you got to ask yourself while you're looking at your edit and go, okay, am I bored now? I watch my own videos and I go, okay, this should be a cut right there.
Yeah.
Okay, this should be a cut right there. All right, I'm done with this. This is boring. Cut. And then it goes on for another 10 seconds, and then I go back into the original file and I cut it. So you really got to watch your videos and just ask yourself, okay, am I bored? I can take myself out of my own video and watch it and go, okay, this is stupid.
Yeah.
This is boring. Okay. That's good. I like when I did that. I should accentuate that more or crop in or whatever.
Move the camera as much as you can so you have different cuts and it's not the same take. I think it's Tim Schmoyer. He talks about in his videos, and this is not a number that everybody should follow, but there's like a certain amount of seconds that he will only show the same camera angle, and it's like 7 or 9 seconds or whatever. And he notices,
I kind of follow that loosely.
He notices in his analytics, like, this is where people fall off if I stick to this camera angle for too long. And so, make a cut, move the camera, make another cut, move the camera. And even if you don't use all those takes, you still have some choices. Actually, for my editing, I don't like choices, and I try to shoot the least amount of footage as I possibly can, but move the camera more.
That's interesting. I hadn't really consciously thought about that time limit per shot, but I guess I do that. Like, I can feel it, when I'm editing, like, oh, this is too much of this. It needs to move on to something else. But I never really thought that deep into it. I got 2 more things to say. Well, actually, I forgot one of them. But I have one more thing to say. One is, Jimmy, like a long time ago, like 100 episodes ago or something, we were talking about something similar to this, and you made the comment, and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But it was like arrive late and leave early.
Yeah. I read a lot of books about screenwriting, and on David Mamet's screenwriting book, he said, get into a scene late and get out of it early, and just trust your audience will understand what's going on.
Yeah.
Instead of it's the idea of like when someone's like, I'm holding a 2x4, I'm going to cut this 2x4, and then I'm going to cut it to this many sizes. If you just open the video and you just chop and you go, okay, this is my 2x4. Everyone knows 2x4s come at 8 feet. You need 16 inches of it, and you just go, boom, you get that 16-inch piece in your hand.
Yeah.
All that extraneous starting information is unnecessary.
So I took that, when you said that made a really big impact on the way that I edited. And I took that and applied it to visual action, not necessarily like what you're talking about, like describing.
No, absolutely.
But like,
absolutely.
When I go to cut a piece of wood, I don't start the shot until after the body is in motion. So I am already moving into the blade or whatever, before that shot is available for people to see. And I do the same thing leaving. Like, I never walk out of frame. I am walking and I'm moving toward the out of frame.
That's very sophisticated. That's very sophisticated editing that you learn just from experience. But one of my editing teachers, I took a couple film classes, nothing like a film course from beginning to end. I don't have a film degree, but I took a lot of classes, and Richard Pepperdine was an editor at School of Visual Arts. I took a class with him, and he wrote a book called The Eye is Quicker, and it was about editing. And he talked a lot about action into a scene and out of a scene. And I mean, it's sort of a common thing, but he really analyzed it where, like I'm moving out of the frame right now. I don't need to be completely out of the frame to go to the next edit of me into a new room, and I don't need to be completely walking into the frame. And if you do that, your eye will go, something feels unusual about that. And you really won't know emotionally why it feels unusual. But if you chop a couple of frames off of one, couple of frames off of the one leaving, going in, and then you start to find that thing where your eye goes, oh, that feels more comfortable to me.
Yeah.
So if you're watching a video and there's an edit and you think to yourself, that seems a little uncomfortable, I don't know exactly why, just drag that cut left and right and just see how it feels. I do that all the time. I'm like, something feels weird about this. Let me just drag 5 seconds off that edit, or 5 or 20 frames off that edit, and then it feels better. I don't even know why it feels better. It just does, So that's that's part of what this whole book was about, called The Eye is Quicker. If I could find the link to that book, I'll send it to you guys.
Yeah, I'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah.
I totally had a thought, and it went away.
This is the problem with recording in the morning, is we forget things.
All right. So, and this goes back to my graphic design days, is I cannot drive past a billboard or look at an ad without studying it. Just even if it's for a brief second. And so my question for you guys is, when you watch other videos, either on YouTube or you're watching TV or a movie, are you constantly looking at lighting and cuts and the feel?
Sure.
Because I can't stop it. I can't turn that off.
No, definitely. I definitely do. I'm always looking at the emotional feeling I get from the edits or from the pacing, or the answer is yes.
Yeah, I don't think I actively look for it. I don't intentionally analyze stuff that I watch, but I definitely feel it. I'm like, oh, man, that looks really good. I wonder how they did lighting like that. I see it. I notice it when it's good, or I notice it when it's bad, but I don't go into videos I'm going to tear this apart and figure out how they did it.
Yeah, I don't go in there either. It's just a natural part of me watching videos. And it's funny, we'll be watching a movie or a TV show, and there'll be some sort of dramatic lighting or something, and Kelly is like, "You're looking at the lighting, aren't you?" I'm like, I am.
What's the story about? What's the name of this movie?
Yeah, exactly.
I do think that kind of works against me sometimes, though, because there is a lot of YouTube. There are a lot of creators that I don't watch because of that stuff. Because man, I just don't want to sit through this thing that's essentially unedited. A little bit of work would have made this really nice, but or if lighting's really bad, or if audio is really bad or something, it's just hard for me to want to spend my time there. And so I know a lot of people say just put things out there, don't worry about how good it is, and I think that's good to get started. But at some point, it matters.
Yeah, learn from your mistakes.
Learn from your mistakes and change things to get people more engaged. I think that matters a lot.
And ask yourself, is this adding to the story? Do I need this in here?
Yeah. Oh, I thought of that. Reminded me. The other thing that I was going to say, somebody told me recently, and I don't remember who it was, so I apologize, that they when they finish a video, they let their kid watch it, who was a young kid. And they would, instead of watching the video, they watch the kid. And when the kid starts to wander, when their eyes start to wander and they start to fidget, that's when they know that something is wrong in the edit, and they have to tighten it up. Yeah. I mean, that could apply to anybody. I mean, not just a kid. You could use a friend or a whatever. Just notice how people react when they watch it.
IRO focus
That's a good
group.
way to do it. Yeah. Yeah. Totally cost effective. Okay. We're an hour in. So right. I want to thank our Patreon supporters before we talk about what we're watching. Real quick. Especially Wise Old Dal, Jedediah Schultz, Evan and Caitlin. Hey guys, good to hang out. Corey Ward, Malta Make, A Glimpse Inside, Works by Solo, also good to hang out. I saw Bernie there. Torbil Terry, and Make Build Modify. But everybody at Patreon, we really appreciate your support. I'm looking at the list. David Ingram, got to talk to him the other night. Super cool. Met a lot of people that were Patreon supporters, and we're really grateful for all that support. That's how we keep the show going. And in case you don't know, we do a little after show that's Patreon exclusive. More yammering by us every week. Extra blahs on Patreon.
Oh my God.
Shout out to David Ingram for wearing the Make Something shirt.
Yeah. Yeah. When I saw him, he was wearing it. It's pretty cool. What have you guys been watching?
I came across this really awesome channel. It's called Learn Quick by Mike Boyd. Have you guys seen this?
The best. I've talked about it before on here.
Oh, you have? Yeah. Why did I not pay attention to you? Because this channel is so awesome.
Yeah.
A week ago, there was he basically picks a task and then just learns it. And the random things. And like the video that got my attention was learning to stack dice with a cup, like super quick. And you just see him like not being able to do it at the beginning, and by the end, he can stack dice in a fraction of a second. It's really
That's
weird.
a crazy technique. I've seen people do that that are good at it. It's crazy.
And then he just put out a video with Alex Steele where he forges a knife, and he learns to do that.
That's cool.
It's such an awesome channel.
Yeah,
I just subscribed to him just now.
Yeah,
awesome.
It's cool, man. I've been watching him for a little while, and the amount of and I've told him this, like the amount of persistence he has to do these things, it would be a stretch for me. Like I don't know how he does it, but it's really impressive. It's fun to watch, and he's super excited when he gets it. On every single one of the videos, when he finally nails the thing that he's doing, he's like all up in the camera, like yelling. He's like, yeah! It's really awesome.
That's another video tip: is be excited about what you're doing. If you are bored with your project, your viewers are going to be bored too.
No doubt.
So, talking about the subject of like a new channel, a young channel, this young man emailed me this week, and his name is Leo. Let me make sure I'm saying his name right. I gotta look at the email. Leo Golden. And he is taking on the task of restoring a 100-year-old boat that's been abandoned for much of those 100 years. Ooh. It's a giant sailboat. It's like a 60-foot sailboat. He's going to restore it. And he got the boat, hauled it back to a location in the Northeast that he's going to Northwest, rather. He's in Washington State. He's going to fix this boat up, and he's 4 videos in, and the boat has got a shelter around it. He's got a workshop, and the boat is sitting there, and it's all rotted, and he's going to rebuild this boat. And he seems to be very experienced, and he asked me to comment on his video making style. And I thought he did a very good job for his first 5 videos. And they're short, quick, and the channel just started. And so go take a look, give him some support, and give him some comments on his videos. I think you'll like them. And this is going to be an amazing series. He's rebuilding basically a beautiful turn-of-the-century sailboat that is like a gorgeous boat. And when he's done with it, it's going to be incredible. So
nice.
One kid on a mission. I say kid, he's probably 25 years old.
Awesome. Well, it's funny. I'm going to continue that like new channel thing. I'm actually this is funny. So I met a guy this weekend named Dade. And we hung out with Dade a lot through the weekend. And at the first meetup, he came over and was talking to us. And we started talking about stuff that he made. And he was like, yeah, I do some metalworking. And I do this and I do that. And I'm like, wow, that sounds really cool. And then later on, come to find out that he like had thought about doing YouTube, but never did it. And so then we got to talking. And he pulls out these 2 photo books. Like books of printed pictures, which you don't see very often anymore. He's like, yeah, here's the stuff I make. And so we're all standing around in this circle, flipping through these books going, dude, you better get on YouTube right now. Unbelievable. Metal, like he made a suit of armor, and he was walking around Maker Faire in the suit of armor with like etched designs all over it. He had a tall bike with lights all over it and a sidecar, and he's riding around. He made all these costume things. He made a castle for his wedding with like craziness. Okay, so I just went to his channel, and I was his 2nd subscriber. Now, his channel does not have the videos for these projects yet that I'm talking about. But I think between all the conversation and hanging out and everything, a bunch of us lit a fire under him to make these videos. So my challenge to all of you guys is trust me that this guy is talented and thoughtful. Go subscribe to his channel, and that should give him the final push of motivation to make these videos. Because he's very, very talented, and he's a thoughtful, smart guy, and I really want to see him do it. So go check out Dade. Yeah. You guys got anything else?
I am going to be late for my final episode of my TV show, so
okay.
I have to go. I don't know if I can hang out for the after party.
We'll talk about you. You can listen to it later.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that'll be awesome. All right. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Love you.
Is that to me or to them?
Just to you, Bob.
Okay.
Just
I love you too.